Well, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the stream and another chapter working on that guy right there. That's our John Wick 1970 Chevelle. As you can see, we're getting ready here. We're going to run the intro and we'll see what's in part 4. Okay guys, we're back and we're going to continue on with this. Last time we got all the, my primered spots put on the paint job on the body on this thing. I've done a little bit of detail painting on my firewall here, but I want to do a little something extra. I'm going to start on that today, and I want to do the chrome trim around the windows, particularly the windshield and the rear window. So I'm just in the middle of masking it. I'm also going to go across the back of the hood there with some chrome. So I'll change the camera. You can follow along. You can watch me do some masking, and yeah, and then we'll spray a little chrome and see how that looks. Okay. All right. So let's have a look here. So here we are on the bench. I've already masked off the hood. We're just going to do that little strip across there and masked it on the underneath too, because we're going to do, 3D. We got to do both sides. So there's that. Put that aside. I've already got the front window, the A-pillar, and across the roof. That's all done. So that's masked. And I'm got something stuck to the front here. Let's remove my garbage. How about that? Okay, so I've got the back window kind of half done. So I'm just going to continue on that. And yeah, we'll go from there. Alrighty. So using my Tamiya masking tape. Because it's got a slight curve on it, it's a little bit tricky to try and line it up. So I'm just going to purposely go over it and get in on that line there. Use my thumbnail to get into that curve. Shape that where I need it. Kind of hold it down, and I'm just going to let it naturally fold over like this, so I'm not putting any stress on it. There we go. And I don't like to mask the whole thing off and then cut. I like to put one piece down and trim that one, and that gives me a guide so I know where to do my cut for my next piece, right? You know what I mean? So that's why I like to do it like this. And of course, when I get to the edge of the tape, I like to go towards the edge and not work my way this way, because I have a tendency of the knife to just pull the tape. So I'll start from a section like here first and come over. Do that. And come this way to the edge. There we go. Sure, got that. Now for this edge, I don't want to go this way, so I'm going to turn this around and come from this side. Something like that. Pull that up. And there we go. Okay. So this over here, they'll wad it up over there. One more piece to line that up. I'm going to do a similar thing. And going further in than I have to. So, and then get in here with my fingernail, get it in on that curve. Just let it do its thing without really trying to pull it and stretch it. Just let it do its thing. Where the tape wants to sit, that's where it gets to sit. Go. That looks pretty good. All right. So I want to mask a little bit more. I don't want to leave any possibility of overspray, particularly on the roof. Not that it's really going to matter very much, because this car is supposed to look like a work in progress, but having chrome overspray on it would look just a little bit out of place, I think. So do my due diligence and mask off where I think overspray might happen. Now, do I have to do the whole trunk? Probably not. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to do it, you know? I don't know. You never know how much the chrome is going to fly in the air and choose to land on some weird spot. You know what I mean? You never know. So I just want to make sure I don't get some weird line of chrome somewhere happening. I think that should be good enough, but at the same time, I'm a little wary of my doors here, so we'll just make sure. There we go. I think that's more than enough masking tape on this thing. So you'll ask me, what chrome are you using? I'll show you what chrome I'm using. I picked up some of this stuff. REEL KROME. I saw Barbatos Rex was showing this stuff on his YouTube channel, and so I figured I'd give it a try, since they say it is the easiest way to achieve a chrome effect, and it can be applied by brush or spray. And it almost looks gray in the jar, although it does look a little silvery. When you get this stuff, when you order it, they send you instructions, nice instruction sheet. Application, it's the easiest product to use. A few tips for best results. It's very forgiving. It can be brushed on or sprayed. Brush on, let it dry, and that's it. If you spray, set the airbrush to 15 psi, apply a heavy coat, and allow the paint to flow. You can even pour on your item or even dip it. It says you can dip the thing in there. I think that would be a little excessive. So it's solvent-based. Use your favorite thinner to clean up your brush. Always use PPE. We recommend gloves. If you get it on your eyes, flush with water, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So my air compressor is already on. I have it set to 18 psi, which is, well, pretty close to 15. To make sure this stuff gets shaken up really good, I'm going to put a ball bearing in it. Look at the lid looks chrome in there where the paint has been touching, and the little stuff, it looks like a silver in the inside the jar but on the tip here, around the tip, it looks chrome. So I'm gonna just drop that in there. I want to make sure that this gets shaken up really good. I don't know if there's any pigment at the bottom that's gonna settle. This is my absolute very first time using this stuff. So you guys get to come along with me on this little journey. Okay, so we're gonna move this out of the way. I'm gonna put down a piece of paper towel here. I'm gonna pour some of this into my cup in the airbrush. Don't need a lot, just need a little bit. So we'll try that little bit. It's very chromy. It's very, very chromy on my little pour spout thing. And it's very chromy on the tip of the jar here. Very, very chromy stuff. So we'll do that. Okay, put that aside. We've got it in the airbrush. Looks like liquid chrome. Let's see how this sprays. It sprays very easily. It's very thin. Okay, so they say that do kind of a heavy coat, so let it flow. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It does look good, I'll give it that. Yep, so I spray it on and it's nice and heavy so it can flow where it needs to and become... There we go. So I don't get a lot of overspray, so that's nice. I'm just going to put this down. As you guys can see, that's very chromy looking. That's definitely chrome. Okay. Of course, the real test is going to be how durable this stuff is. Can you touch it after? All right. So let's go around there. We'll do a bit of trim. There's our back window. Front windows and pillars. Done. It's really not, you know, for all this prep work, just to do those little bits, you know, it seems like a lot of work for a little reward, but who knows? So I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to just do a little test. I want to test something here. Let's just grab an old intake manifold here. This is painted silver, and that's fine, but I was just curious what that's going to look like if I paint it chrome. Actually, why don't I check out my bumper? I had to do a little work on that. How about we try that? I'm going to mask this off on the front here. Actually, no, I want the overspray. So let's try this. I was planning on just kind of brushing it on, but why not? It seems to go on kind of a silvery until you build it up and let it make a thick coat of it. Which is probably why they recommend 15 psi. I want to do the top of the bumper here, so I'm going to grab a clip so I can hold on to it like this. It looks pretty good. That's not bad. It's not bad. It's not the kit chrome, but it's not bad either. Okay, so I'm going to do the top here. It's not bad. I mean, it shows you the roughness of the plastic, but It's chrome at least. Considering this is going to be just in the background of a photograph, it's not bad at all. So I'll just put our bumper aside here. And that's about it. Okay. That really is about it. So what I'm going to do is I'll spend a few minutes. I'm going to clean up my airbrush, and we'll get that all cleaned up, and then we'll come back, okay?
6.5 hours later.
Okay, so we're back, and the airbrush is all cleaned up. So now I just have to remove the masking tape, and you get to see the big reveal. We'll see if the paint is so thin that it went underneath and creeped in underneath my masking tape. Hopefully not, but we'll find out. Okay, let's see. We'll start with the hood. Why not? The hood was the first one I painted, so we'll try this. Take some of this off here. Start making ourselves a great big pile of tape. You have some little funky thing going on right there, like the tape is like pulled some of my primer off. That's what it looked like. You may have noticed because of the curvature of the hood, I've got this different tape. This is basically vinyl tape. So Tamiya makes it, but 3M also makes it. It's just a vinyl tape that you can use for doing curves and bends and stuff like that. The Tamiya one works pretty good. Now I have it on the top and I have it on the bottom, but on the edges here, it's the sticky sides are touching each other. So I'm going to go in with my knife in between, separate those two, so I can do that. So our underside here looks pretty good. It's a nice crisp line. That's good there. Let's see what the top of our hood looks like. Well, I didn't get any bleed through. So there's my chrome trim on the hood. And that's nice crisp line. That looks really nice. That looks good. The question is going to be the durability. Can I touch this? I obviously don't want to touch it right now. I want to give it some time to dry. Same with our trim around here. I want to give it time to dry. You know what I mean? That is the prudent thing to do. You got to let it, even if you don't touch it for a couple of days, you got to give it that time. The chrome stuff, a lot of these things are inks, and these different products like the Molotov chrome, that's an ink. It's not a paint. And that's why that stuff never really cures. It never really hardens because it's an ink. A lot of guys don't seem to understand that, and they just think Molotov sucks because it never, oh, Molotov sucks. Even after a month, I went and touched it, and now it got a big fingerprint in it. Well, yeah, because it's ink, it's never going to dry. Sorry, that's just life. That's reality. So there's our front windshield, okay? And again, nice crisp line. That came out really nice. It looks really good. Couple of spots along this particular pillar. I should have gone a little heavier with it, but it is what it is. And it does say that you can use a brush, so I could go back over that, I suppose. to be careful with my trunk because it's not attached on each side, right? I don't want to just rip this tape off. There, that piece off. One final piece here. There we go. And there's our rear window trim. So, is it shiny like kit chrome? No. Is it typical of other chromes? I would say, as far as appearance, yes. It is definitely similar in appearance to other chrome paints out there. Definitely. Let's have a look. Yeah, see, just this, got a little bit of chrome on my finger just from, now the touching it on the tape here, you can rub it, doesn't seem to be coming off on my finger. This just might be durable stuff. We'll see. Where's my bumper? Bumper's done, okay. And yes, it's very chromy looking. And I sprayed all the way across the top here on the bumper. I didn't just stick to that center section. And that looks really good. I mean, as far as the side here, so this is not painted. This is kit chrome right here. Okay, but we go to the edge here. This is the spray on the edge. And that looks like really good. I mean, yeah, okay, I could have, you know, sanded it down with some like 1000 grit sandpaper or something, make that a little smoother. But in comparison to the rest of the chrome, that's really good. Same with this side. And yeah, I could have gone a little better on there, but as far as mimicking the kit chrome, it's pretty good. I mean, you can see my reflection as my finger goes over the shadows and stuff like that. You can kind of see that in there. That is a really nice outcome. So set this aside. With that done, I think we're just about ready. Let's take a look at our instructions here. I think the instructions really were, after getting your wheels onto the frame, which we've already done, we got our wheels on the chassis. The bottom of the car is already done. Step number 8 was to put our interior and our windows into the car. But something I wanted to look as far as doing, again, more custom stuff, because these kits, these old car kits, they tend to have, your side windows are always rolled down. And even if the car has 4 windows, you know, you've got your door windows, but you've also got your rear quarter glass windows. They always have everything all rolled down. And I was thinking, maybe, just maybe, I'll look at some pictures and have my quarter glass rolled up on this car. But I'm not a Chevelle guy. I've never owned a Chevelle, and so I don't even know what it looks like. Do they have the quarter glass? I imagine the quarter glass has the weather stripping to go in between the quarter glass and the door windows. You can have a strip of rubber in there. I imagine it would. So I'm going to have to do a little research on that before I really do anything else. I also don't want to be mucking around with this too much. I want to let that chrome, I want to let it cure as much as it can. So I want to give this maybe a couple of days and just kind of put this aside and just leave it for a bit. One thing I do want to test, they say in the instructions, where did I put my chrome? Put it behind me. They say in the instructions for this that you can brush paint. I'm going to try this. This hood has 2 hood pins on it. So we're going to try brush painting this too. I'm going to shoot this up again. Change the camera. There's two little hood pins. You can see where I when I was sanding the hood, you can see where I sanded over them on each corner here. So I'm going to try brush painting this stuff. A little brush. Let's see, what about this? Oh yeah, it's like a little thing that you can dip my brush in. And this stuff really does flow. They've really done this stuff very, very thin. It almost flows like a panel liner. And of course, AMT's detail for the actual circular plate leaves a little to be desired here. They say to build it up and do it thick so that it will flow. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And do a nice thick coat. There we go. I guess that's about as good as I can do as far as the hood pins. Okay, I will clean my brush. Doesn't take much with the tiny little amount that I had on there. Okay, so let's put this aside. And we're going to put this aside, and I'll show you a little detail I want to add to my firewall. Remember last time I was talking about how when you've got an engine out of the car and doing an engine swap kind of situation, you always have wires and hoses and stuff that are hanging down that were attached to the car. They're no longer attached to the engine, so they're just hanging down, that kind of thing. I was thinking about it when I was looking at the firewall here. They have the heater hoses attached to the firewall and going down. And I was thinking, heater hoses, that would be something realistically just sticking out and hanging down out of the firewall. And I can mimic those. I got wiring that is going to be similar in scale. Just I could use this stuff right here. It's just some wire. It's all it is. But I can use this as hose. It's pretty much the same diameter. I'll change the camera. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So you see my little firewall I've got here. You can see the heater hoses coming out here and just going down, right? But I was thinking I could just drill a couple of holes there, and I could use this stuff, use my wire, put that through, and just have that hanging down in our engine compartment. So all I need to do, I don't even need to get rid of these. That's not going to be an important thing. All I need to do is drill a couple of holes into my firewall here that I can stick my wire through and glue it in. I don't want to just glue this just to the surface. That won't give me a good bond. But I do want to get something like this. So I want to just drill a hole, two holes, one like here. So I'm going to do a little bit of a pilot hole with this small bit. And that was silly. Okay. Let's do a bit of a pilot hole right here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now I'll find a bit that actually is this size of the wire. That's pretty close, but not quite. Our orange looks like it might be the winner. I want to go in straight. There we go. I'll find out real quick if that's big enough. No, not. Oh, yep. We got that in there. Bingo. She's in. So, first task, clean up these holes. We don't want the white showing. We definitely don't want any white showing. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do something I don't normally do, and I'm going to use a Sharpie just to clean up this little bit of plastic here. I don't normally use Sharpie, and I don't like guys who do. Okay. Now the question is, how long a hose do I want sticking out of here? Push this through. I want this hose to be kind of like this, hang down, and realistically it would come over to the engine right about there, so it would be about that long, roughly, right? Something like that. We can go a little longer. And then our second hose, that through the hole. This one doesn't really want to go. That's okay. Bend that around there, and we can go roughly the same length. We could go a little longer just to represent it's going to a different spot. And now we're going to put a little CA glue in on the back here. These might fall out, but that's okay. Yeah, that one fell out. This. Okay. We'll put some CA glue on there. This is on the back side, so who cares what it looks like, right? Don't matter at all what it looks like on the back side where nobody can see it. That in there. This one in there. There we go. And just for giggles, that's the accelerant. There we go. And now we've got a couple of hoses. And now I can bend them and make them kind of realistic looking, just hanging down. Kind of like that. And now in the inside the car, if we just pretend this is assembled, these are going to be hanging down roughly like this, hanging down like that, and it'll be looking like I actually got stuff disconnected, just like it should. Now, the one thing I will have to worry about is this does go flat up against the interior bucket like this. And so those hoses I'll probably have to trim off. But I want to let that CA cure. You know, my CA glue is thick and it takes a little bit to cure. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's that. There are a couple of other things, like I could maybe attach a wire here, something like that, and I could have those hanging down. I'm not really interested in having a whole ton of wires and stuff hanging down through my engine bay here. That's not really necessary, right? So, yeah. So, I do want to check. We are supposed to have a radiator that attaches to the front here, so I want to check that out. Let's check out our radiator, okay, before I go. Part number 4. We got our front radiator section here. Let's find that. That would be this guy here. Let's get this off the sprue. There we go. There's not much else left on this sprue. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit here. We've got a battery. Battery can get installed. This almost looks like a, what is that thing? Number 17. I want to find where number 17 is supposed to go. It looks like, I don't know what that is. What is number 17? I'm guessing. Number 17 has no home. Number 17 has no home. That's a shame. '17 has no home. So I have no idea what 17 is. It looks like some kind of a gearbox, but I have no idea. We have our battery here. Our battery is supposed to go onto the same wall as our radiator. Okay. I don't feel the need to do a lot of battery detail on this. Yes, my engine is going to be on the roof, so it's going to be an open engine bay, but I don't see any reason why I need to do things like running cables to the battery and then have cables, you know, running down. This, again, this is not going to be a build that I'm looking all that closely at. This is not that kind of a build. So I'm going to just glue this in from underneath there. Let's move our frame out of the way here. Chassis. So our battery can get glued in there. Let's try and get this straight. There we go. Battery's on there. Okay. Now, a couple of things I like to do. I'll use some X1 black just to make things look a little bit like it's not all this painted exactly the same thing, so it's not all the same shade of flat blackness. You know what I mean? Because they do have things like the little horn details in here. A little something here with like some wire hanging off of it. I don't know what it is. A radiator. A radiator, it's safe to assume the radiator is painted in a semi-gloss black. At least your edges are. And again, I'm just using Tamiya X1 black. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to paint along top row here. Give that just a little bit of a different sheen than the flat black that's on there currently. What am I making? Well, I am making John Wick's 1970 Chevelle. It's in the picture there at the bottom. This just happens to be the front radiator wall, I guess you could call it, with the rad on it. That's what this is. Okay, so with that done, I think the rad cap deserves to be a kind of silver. So I'll shake up this. I'm going to cheat a little bit and not clean my brush properly. So radiator cap should be a nice silver color right here. Note that they molded it very nicely. And of course our battery clamps. Should have something on them. I'll do one red. I don't know which one's supposed to be red on this car. I don't think it really matters. But you know, your battery always has a black and a red wire, right? So we'll do one wire. I'll just pick this one to be our positive. And just leave that like that. Of course, if I were to do the battery cable, I'd have to figure out where it's supposed to go. Because normally your positive cable goes to like a starter solenoid kind of thing. Usually something like that. But not having the engine in the engine bay makes that a little bit difficult. So this guy is supposed to go in right here, like so. Of course, we've got huge ejector pin marks here, trying to ruin our day. So that's supposed to go just like this. So we can do that. That'll be good enough. I think so. See, if I were to run the battery cable, I would have to like run it down here kind of thing and maybe have the hanging down. I don't know. And I don't really want to do that, so we're just going to leave it as it is like that. So let's get this in its spot and then hold it in its spot. I'm not sure if it's supposed to go on the front of these little lines or on the back. Let's see here. It's really hard to tell. It looks like they have the arrow pointing towards the front of it. So So the front of it is. Hold that for a minute, or maybe not. Keeps on wanting to move on me. Which is not really surprising with old tooling and stuff like that. Like old kit. Basically just, you know, they're basically saying, hey, look, it's John Wick's car, but realistically, you know, really, we made this kit in like 1980, and it doesn't really fit. I got more work to do here because she don't fit right. Now that I've got glue on it and softened the plastic up, and she don't sit flat on here. I have a feeling she's supposed to go in behind. No, she doesn't go in behind, because if she does, she ain't gonna fit. By the time I get this fitting on here, the glue will have to be reapplied. It's like they've got the radiator sitting low, but this is flat. But the rad is sitting low on this edge for some reason. So we're going to file this down and make it flat. It's not perfect, but I think it's better. It's definitely a better fit. It would be nice if there was something a little more positive for this to channel into and kind of lock it in place, but you got to do with what you got, right? You can only do what you have, work with what you got. So that's what we're going to do. And that's basically it. Radiator sitting in there. And that's that, really. But you know what I just realized? How do I have my engine in there if I've got the rad in there? Ah, that's okay. It's not a big deal. I was just thinking about the whole diorama thing with the engine sitting. Remember I showed you guys last time with the engine kind of sitting halfway in like this? Well, with the rad in there, I can't do that. And realistically, they wouldn't remove this wall in replacing the engine, so that ain't gonna happen. Okay. Now, one thing they do show in here when they're putting in the glass, they show you putting in the firewall into the body, kind of all on its own here. And I don't think that there's no place for you. Nothing in here says this is the exact spot for it. There's nothing that says it should go here, it should go here, it should go here, that kind of thing. So it's just to put this in by itself, it's not going to happen. You literally have to put in your interior, get this lined up in here first, like so. And then you can think about where your firewall goes. And basically just glue the firewall to your interior, I think would be your better bet. Just glue that like this and say that's done. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be the better way to go. That's probably going to be what we have to do. Speaking of what we have to do, I'm going to trim off my excess wire here. So that this can go flat against my interior bucket like it's supposed to, like so, kind of like that. Okay, so I'm kind of at a point where I need to wait. This is where I want to kind of leave this for a couple of days now. I'm kind of at that point where I need to let this just sit because I don't want to be working with this thing and touching my fresh chrome trim and get fingerprint goobers all over it, or rub it and make it dull and not chrome anymore and all that kind of stuff. I want this to just look pretty good. And I just realized I missed a couple of little chrome strips, a couple of chrome pieces on the top of the fenders. Before I go, let's try brushing this again. We're going to try brushing that chrome again. Let's move these out of the way. Before I go, we're going to do our chrome brush test. It was okay on the it did okay on the hood pins. It seemed to be all right. So I'll do this real quick and paint these up. It's these two little pieces here on the tops of the fenders, one here and one here. These need to be chrome also. So let's just do that. That got it right there. I would say the biggest problem with this is my prep job on the paint. Makes these not super smooth. Now, the reason why I went up this one again is because I didn't paint, when I sprayed this, I didn't do that very thick. And so I wanted to add a little bit more on there. And even just adding that more, this one has turned out much more chrome than it was before. And looks a lot nicer now, a lot more shiny. I think maybe I was just trying to be a little bit conservative because I didn't want to go under my tape. There we go. That looks pretty good. It's not bad at all. Sorry if that was off camera. There's a couple of other things like door handles, the door locks, the SS emblems. That's all got to be chrome. But in the fact that I have to grab this thing all over the place, guess where I grab a lot? Guess where I grab a lot is right there on the door handles. So I'm not going to be touching that. I'm not going to be doing that until, you know, basically one of the last things. With the little bit of chrome that I have on my brush, I can add a little bit of bling under here and brush that onto here and try and make that a little more shiny. Yes. Okay. So guys, that is basically where I need to leave this now and call this done. So, or I can say it's not done. That's totally not done. But I'm done for the next couple of days anyway. I'm going to have to just set this aside and leave it alone for a little while. And we'll see what the durability is like on that chrome. And hopefully it doesn't just rub off on me as soon as I touch it and turn to a dull silver from handling it and stuff like that. Because that's what a lot of other chromes do. As soon as you handle them, they just turn to a dull silver or kind of an aluminum look, right? And that's really what sucks, and that's why we're always on the hunt for a new chrome paint that does the job and handles, you know, handling it, because there's not a lot out there that does. So this is where we're going to end it here, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Please feel free to check out the description box below, where I've got links to my Instagram and my Twitch channel and things like that, my ex. Of course, on Twitch, you can watch me live and you can talk to me. And unfortunately, sometimes I see the chat and sometimes I don't. I'm just looking down at my stuff and I don't see when somebody types something. And I do apologize for that. I missed the one today. And so I answered your question a little bit late, and I'm sorry. But I do try to to respond in a timely manner, which I definitely do on YouTube. Okay, you check me out on YouTube, leave a description down below or leave a comment down below, and I will comment on that. I will get back to your comments on that for sure. So far as what my next build is going to be after this, it's starting to look like it's going to be an F-35A. I only have one comment suggesting that, so, and I happen to have one in my stash, so I think that might be what's next. Yes. Anyway, guys, leave a like down below, hit subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you all in the next one.